Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to quickly go over patch 7.3.2 in DBD, which is a bug fix patch. Mostly just all bug fixes. They changed one Skull Merchant add-on to be even more of a meme, even though it was basically already her meme add-on. But they did one actual change I want to talk about because I just read it and I was just like, what? So the Shattered Square map has received a pass on all tiles to update the amount of pallets from currently around 8 in total to around 18 pallet spawns. And I don't understand why they can't be slightly more nuanced with their changes. There's also one more line. The quality of the loops were also updated to reduce the safety. So what they're basically saying is they reduced the safety of certain loops and then just added 125% more pallets, which I think is just asinine design. So a little history on Decimated Borgo. It was the Knights map. When it originally came out, it was definitely a survivor-sided map. It was very big. There were a lot of tiles, a lot of connected tiles. And it was generally a nightmare to both look at and play on as killer. So on the PTB, they experimented with shrinking the map. They made it a square instead of a big rectangle. So that made the size of the map a lot more manageable. Now, the problem was there were still a couple of loops on the map. Like there was this one rundown building with a pallet in the middle and a window right next to it that was basically stronger than Shack. So they had tiles there that were still extremely strong. But the number of pallets was now okay. It was like, the number of pallets was fine. It was like maybe like 12, 13, which is a good amount to have on a map, I think, especially one that's kind of small. So that felt fine. It just had a couple of really strong loops that maybe should have been looked at. So instead of removing those loops, the problematic ones, they just ended up gutting the amount of pallets on the map. So they reduced it from like 13 to like 8, which was honestly not enough pallets. And then I felt like the map actually started to lean towards being killer-sided. So we needed to find a little area right in between that, removing those problematic loops, but also not making it have a very, very low amount of pellets. So in all of their nuance, they decided to make it go from 8 instead of, 11, 12, even 13, even 14. They go from 8 to 18, which is an 125% increase in the number of pallets. I don't understand why they couldn't just add a few more. There were a couple dead zones that needed to be addressed, and so survivors needed a little bit more something there. You can balance things like this. You don't have to just throw an anvil on one side, although that's typically the way behavior does stuff. So now there's around 18 pallets on a relatively small map, which is going to feel very congested. It's kind of like Wrecker's Yard, but Wrecker's Yard does not have 18 pallets on it. It never does. So it's going to feel extremely congested. Now, they did say that the quality of the loops were also updated to reduce the safety. So I'm guessing this means they're probably going to like remove a jungle gym from the map or something, make it so the strength of the tiles are slightly less while more than doubling the amount of them. And I hate that design. For those who don't know, I hated the map Hawkins National Laboratory. It was the map that came out with Stranger Things. The reason I hated that is because, little known fact, it actually had the highest pallet count in the entire game. It could spawn up to 30 pallets, which is insanity. However, almost all of the pallets were terrible pallets that the killer could almost always get an M1 at given 5 to 10 seconds. So the only option the survivor had was to drop it and try to chain it to another one, which they typically could do because there was 30 pallets on the map. It was insane. The problem with this type of game design is it basically makes it so the killer is able to bloodlust and get M1s very, very easily, but they never get to use their power. Like, try using Billy's chainsaw or, using Leatherface's chainsaw, or even playing Blight, or imagine Wesker on that map. Imagine any killer with a fun and interesting chase power on a map with 30 unsafe pallets connected to each other. You can almost never actually hit people with your power, but you can very easily M1 people. And so this sort of stagnated the gameplay to where every killer was just reduced to an M1 killer, and they could still get M1, so the map wasn't survivor side or killer side. It was fairly balanced, but it was just very uninteresting. And so I think that whole method of adding a ton of pallets, but you reduce the strength of the pallets, it's just boring. It just makes it the exact same gameplay where killers are not using their powers, but it's still easy to M1. Bloodlust rewards killers a lot there, and survivors have just unsafe shit to work with. I'm not saying the map needs 50 god pallets or anything like that. Then we have the game, which is a problem in the complete opposite direction. I think a balanced map is one that has 2 or 3 good jungle gyms that are very, good survivor areas. They can still be defeated by a killer in 10, 15 seconds if you play it right, but there's still some safe havens that are bound by limited resources that the killer, if they're good, will chew through very quickly. If they're not good, they'll chew through them very slowly. That's sort of how the game balance works with skill expression. It's how quickly the survivors, or how slowly the survivors can burn through their resources, and how quickly the killer can force the survivors to burn those resources. And then intermittently between those strong loops, you have those junk tiles that are pretty 50-50, going a hit, an either way. I think that's the good design for a map, having a few safe tiles and then having a larger amount of unsafe tiles. This just seems like they just vomited like a billion unsafe tiles onto the map, which is just going to be not good design. I don't even have to see the map to know it's not going to be good. The map is tiny, having almost 20 pallets on that. I don't care how unsafe they are, even if they're like the shitty the upstairs Hawkins pallet, the legendary unsafe one. It's still not going to be good design. So I'm not sure why they couldn't just simply have a bit of nuance here, make it go from 8 to 13, keep a number of jungle gyms so it still has some safe areas, and then you're good. Then you have a pretty actually balanced map. Still unpleasant to look at because it burns your retinas, but at least it's balanced. I don't know why they always do this insane, like, Hex Rune has gone from 200% regression to it kills you if you bring the perk. Like, it just some nuance would be nice. I guess that's all I'm saying. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.